Yes, my friends, shut my face, because it seems as though GTA 6 is that much closer to the Switch 2. And why do I say that? Because Industry Insider, who else but the man that's having a crazy year, Nash Weedle, has just said that he has had it confirmed to him, that GTA 6 is in fact being ported over to the Switch 2, and that is humongous news because it's the game that everyone argues about. Can it run on the Switch 2? Can't it run on the Switch 2? Nash Weedle is saying that it has been confirmed to him that it is indeed GTA 6 being ported over to the Switch 2, and he mentioned this on X, and we're gonna have a look exactly at what he said, friends. He starts, as always, with that huge Leak Express, and then in big fat letters, confirmado, which means confirmed. And what he says here is confirmation that a port of GTA 6 is being worked on for the Switch 2, friends. There you go. Let me repeat what he has just said there. Confirmation that work of a port of GTA 6 is being worked on now for the Switch 2. Let that sink in. And then he continues by saying he couldn't talk about it before. He had to be cautious, but he can also say that the recent delay of GTA 6 has nothing to do with the Switch 2. So that delay to GTA 6 is not to do with it being ported over to the Switch 2. And he says that it doesn't seem as though the Switch 2 version of the game will be out at launch at the same time as the other versions, which I think we all would have guessed anyways. But there you go, my friends. Amazing, massive news. GTA 6. The holy of games, apparently coming over to the Switch 2, just not at launch. As I said, this is not confirmed by Rockstar, so as such, it's still a rumor. But, you know, Nash Weedle, who has been getting everything right, he is saying that he has had it confirmed to him that it is indeed coming over to the Switch 2, just not at launch. Now, we've actually had more information about this and more hints about this very recently through Reese from KIWI TALKZ, who's an amazing YouTuber, one of my favorite actually. And if you don't follow him, I'm going to have his channel in the description below because he does amazing interviews with many developers. And I, definitely encourage you to go check out his channel. But he recently spoke about the possibilities of GTA 6 coming over to the Switch 2. And he's actually been told that it's coming to the Switch 2, but he doesn't believe it. He still actually doesn't believe that it's coming over to the Switch 2. So much so that we've had a bet about it. And in fact, whoever loses has to dress up as Tingle. So far, I'm feeling that much more confident. But let's take a look at actually what he said about it, because I think it's very interesting. This is what he said about what he thinks about the possibilities of GTA 6 coming over to the Switch 2 on X. So he said, I have seen some wild theories online about the reason as to why GTA 6 was delayed, one being the Switch 2 version, which he laughs. And of course, also now Nash Weedle was saying that it's not the reason that GTA 6 has been delayed. But Reese continues, Rockstar have never prioritized Nintendo and they ain't about to now. I doubt they would outsource it either due to it being too much of a security risk. And he continues, I've mentioned this before, but I've only had one source tell me that the Switch 2 version is on the table. This source has gotten stuff wrong before, so I don't believe him. However, he has now doubled down and he is so convinced that it exists that we have taken a bet on it. If GTA 6 for Switch 2 exists, I have to buy him dinner at a lavish restaurant. If it doesn't, he has to buy me dinner. My source lives in India, and India is the country I spend the most time in next to New Zealand. My wife is from India. I will be back in India next year and around the middle of the year, so I look forward to winning this bet and getting a lavish meal. Now, I chimed in on this. Of course I did. And I said, dude, I want in on this bet. If it arrives, you have to conduct one of your interviews dressed as Tingle, and if I lose, I will do the same. And he laughed about it and said, deal. That I have no idea where the heck I'm going to get a Tingle outfit, which of course I don't know, although I have found one since. But there you go, we had jokes, my friends. And as I said, Reese from KIWI TALKZ is an awesome dude, one of my favorite YouTubers, and his channel is in the description below, so make sure you follow him. But it is very interesting that he has been told by his source that GTA 6 is indeed coming over to the Switch 2, but he doesn't believe it. And I guess that is smart to at least question it if that source hasn't always gotten everything right? And he is absolutely right again, Reese, in that Rockstar have never prioritized Nintendo. But at the same time, if we look at things, we can see that Red Dead Redemption coming over to the Switch 2. Yesterday, it was reiterated again by Nate the Hate that Red Dead 2 coming over to the Switch 2. So seemingly Rockstar is at least almost out of the gate supporting Nintendo and the Switch 2 very strongly. And again, it tells us that they have at least had the dev kits for a while. Now I'm thinking if you've got the dev kits right there in the office and you've got a Switch 2, you might be a little bit curious about, ooh, how might GTA 6 run on the Switch 2? Can we do that? Is it possible? And you know, we may as well look at it, because if we look across the pond, we can see that the Xbox Series S and X are selling terribly. I think both those consoles together have sold 28 million, if I'm not wrong on that. The PS5 is selling well, but it's not going to reach the PS4 sales, I don't think. And meanwhile, on the other side, the Switch 2 is the fastest selling console of all time. And by the time GTA 6 comes out on the Switch 2, who knows, by that point, Nintendo might have shifted 20, 30, 40, or 50 million of the Switch 2. So it's maybe a good idea to look at the possibilities of it coming out on the Switch 2. And seemingly, Nash Weedle is saying he has indeed had it confirmed to him that it is indeed being ported over to the Switch 2 right now. So very interesting. And that's the question as well, right? How, not just can it run, seemingly, if we believe what we're hearing, it does run. How well does it run? You know, there's been those who hold the theory that anything that runs on the Xbox Series S can run on the Switch 2. We've even had developers from Black Shamrock. We've had, I forgot his name, it was something O'Grady, Ian O'Grady, who compared the Xbox Series S to the Switch 2. And he said things like the Xbox Series S had a slightly better GPU, but then the Switch 2 with its DLS would make it comparable. And in fact, I remember him saying, any game that runs 60 FPS on the Xbox Series S without a problem ports over to the Switch 2. He said even games that ran 30 FPS could run on the Switch 2, but they would need more optimization, right? And we all know the weak point of the Switch 2 is that CPU. So that's what they're going to be battling with. But at the same time, we are seeing increasingly more and more impressive ports coming over to the Switch 2. I mean, they started out on day one with Cyberpunk. Some people might say that's an older game, but it's still an open world game, a taxing game. And that game runs 40 FPS on the Switch 2, and in many instances actually outperforms the Xbox Series S visually, as do games like Street Fighter. After that, we've got even more intensive and current games like Star Wars Outlaws, which is a game that is very taxing even on PC and comes with built-in ray tracing. You know what? Ported over to the Switch 2 with that built-in ray tracing using DLSS runs and looks superb. And you know, we've even had rumors of a huge game in the form of Crimson Desert, which showed up on a French retailer's website, hinting at the possibility of that coming over to the Switch 2. That would be another level. That's a huge open world game which looks insanely intensive. But none of them obviously can hold a candle to the technical marvel that is GTA 6. But seemingly, developers are getting more and more out of this little console, out of this little hybrid machine. And if we look at Resident Evil Requiem, okay, it's not an open world game, but it's a current game that looks insane. And we've got footage of that running on Switch 2 at around 60 FPS in handheld mode. In handheld mode. Do you imagine what Capcom is going to be able to do with that game in docked mode? So we're seeing massive pushes, you know, from developers in the forms of these ports. They're not even impossible ports or miracle ports anymore. This is just what the machine can do. Now, as I said, GTA 6, the very next level. So we'll have to wait and see. But my friends, that is the highlighted message of the day, the news coming from Nash Weedle, that Nintendo insider, my good friend, the guy who's having an insane year and getting everything correct. And he's come out with a bomb right now and saying, yep, according to him, he has had it confirmed. Once again, GTA 6 coming over to the Switch 2, my friends. Let's go. Shut my face. Right, my friends, that is the video for today. I've got to go sleep. I'm recording this earlier, so I will be back maybe later with another video. If not, have yourselves an awesome day. But I do want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think about this news. Nash Weedle's got everything right. Do you believe it? How do you think it's going to run? When do you think it will arrive? It's not going to be launched, so how long will we have to wait? What do you think, friends? Let me know in the comments below. Until then, have yourselves an awesome day, and I'll see you all soon. Take care, my friends. Bye!